Good morning. Welcome to the Tuesday live stream. Today is Tuesday, February 24th. How's it going? My name is Angela. I am a front-end developer and a software engineer in St. Paul, Minnesota. And on this channel, we just do vanilla. Vanilla HTML, CSS, JavaScript. It's not a conspiracy. I know that libraries and frameworks are important. You need to know that stuff to get a job. But guess what? You also need to know vanilla. You do. You really, really do. And I don't think we talk about that enough on Dev YouTube. So what we do here is we just practice building stuff. Everything I do is static. Everything that I do is freely available, open source. You can find it on GitHub. Oh, I don't know if I updated the show notes. Let me give you I'm going to put this in the chat. Also, we're starting early today. I have an appointment this afternoon. I normally start the streams at 10:30 a.m. Central Standard Time, but I have an appointment this afternoon, so I think I'm going to be live for about 90 minutes or so, and then I got to get out of here and go do my thing. But we're just going to pick up where we left off this past weekend, which is we're building this static website. Oh yes, my point. Everything that I do is static. Everything I do is freely available on GitHub. I give everything an MIT license, so you don't need to give me credit. You can take it. You can use it for anything you want. Personal, commercial, client work. Go for it. Knock yourself out. The whole point of this channel is to be educational and to help people learn and to promote practice. If you have a desire to be better at vanilla anything, I would say CSS is my real strength, HTML, perhaps accessibility, SEO, but really vanilla CSS is like what I love doing. If you have a desire to be better at it, I would encourage you to do 1 or 2 projects, all vanilla. Build a static landing page, build a little 2, 3, 4 page static website to practice your vanilla skills and see if you get better. Understand the difference between a div and a span. Understand the difference between display block, display inline block, and display inline. Those are 3 very distinct things. Understand what those mean. They will help you so much. Understand basic positioning, position relative, position absolute, position fixed, position sticky. There's lots of positions. I would call those like the big 4. Understand what those do when they're appropriate, and I promise you they will help you. So that's what we do here. We just hang out and we build some fun stuff. It's all meant to just be casual and have a good time. So do me a favor, if you haven't yet, go ahead and like this video. It helps the algorithm. It helps push this type of content out to more people who might be interested in front-end development. And it helps the channel grow. We have officially surpassed 2,000 subscribers, which I think is so cool. And I'm very proud of that because it's been 18 months of consistent streaming and project videos. And I appreciate everybody who subscribes and comes to hang out. I just appreciate all of you. I also am over on Instagram. So if you want to hit me up on Instagram, send me a DM if you've got questions about anything I'm doing on the channel. If you just want to connect, I would say that the stuff I do on Instagram is, I don't post a ton on Instagram. About a couple weeks ago, I was like, I'm going to post a reel every day for 30 days, and that didn't happen. Also, a couple weeks ago, I had a very sick dog. I had a dog who suddenly had pancreatitis. I'm not going to describe in detail what those symptoms are. You can Google it if you want to know. But it kind of rocked my world for about a week or 10 days. It was very dramatic. So I got a little off track and we're getting back to it. But I would say my Instagram content is like dev lifestyle adjacent. So here's the thing. I just want to have a good time. I just want to chill. I just want to enjoy life and do front end because I love front end. Like I really love front end, and I don't want things to be too serious. So, Go Elmo is here. Malik Robinson, he's our mod in the chat today. I didn't really tell people that I was going to go live early because I had kind of this last minute thing that came up. I had an appointment that got switched around, and today ended up being the best day, but I was like, I can't start at 10:30. I won't make the appointment, blah, blah, blah. So there's that. Anyways, okay. Should we get started? One moment. Hold, please. I have a runny nose. Yeah. So let's just go back. Let's pick up where we left off. If you're new here, or if you would just like a refresher, right, refresher is always good. What I did was go into my collection of mockups, and I chose 4 designs from the design is called Kleenex. It's on ThemeForest, but it's no longer available. I do have a license though from ThemeForest to make one end product that is freely available, but I can't give away the layered design files. I still need to do the README for this project. I'm going to get that done this week. So that's where I get these design from. They're just part of a collection of Photoshop mockups that I've had for at least a decade, back from when I was doing a lot more I do some freelancing now, but back from when I was doing a lot more freelancing and contracting, because I'm a very mediocre designer. I'm not a super confident UI UX designer at all. And the thing that I found the most difficult about being a freelancer was coming up with the designs. So I figured out that, oh, you can like buy PSDs. So I would actually I call these low fidelity mockups because it's gray boxes. It's pretty generic. You could add your own color palette, things like that. And these helped me out so much when I was freelancing, because then I could really dig in and help clients figure out like what is their content and what is their strategy and what are what are their expectations around SEO and getting found in search. And I didn't have to worry or get stressed out about the design. I could just grab a mock-up, grab a layout, and I could make sure that the content strategy worked for the layout, apply their branding, their color palette, their images, and boom, voila, Bob's your uncle. You have a website. It just worked really, really well for me. And now, all these years later, I have this massive collection of layered Photoshop mockups. So that's like really the premise for this entire channel, is to practice HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, grab these mockups and just build stuff, just practice. And it has worked wonders for me in the 18 months or so that I've been doing it. So again, if you have a desire to be better at this, whatever framework or library you choose, whatever your tech stack is, whatever you're into, just practice. Just go grab something and practice. That's what we're doing here. So here's the home page. The way I approach these projects is that I always start with the home page and I completely build it out from top to bottom. I make sure it's accessible, responsive, everything. And then when you get ready to work on those inner pages, like have your pages done, because the header and footer done, layout styles established, color palette, accessibility, SEO strategy, all of those things have been established because you got the home page done first. So that's what we're doing here. I have 4 Photoshop mockups. I think when this site is done, we are going to have 5 or 6 pages. I'm not sure yet, but we have a really good start. The other thing that kind of surprised me, but also shouldn't have surprised me is that I doubled my streaming time for 2026. So for the last year and a half, I've just been Saturday and Sunday. I added Tuesday and Thursday, and we are blowing through these projects. So where previous projects have all been like these one-page landing pages that took a month of weekend streaming, now I'm like blasting through 4-page websites in 2 weeks because I increased my streaming time. So I want to start doing more multi-page sites. And then I also, in 2026, I included deployment. So after we finish every single project, we have a day dedicated to deployment, setting up our domain name, configuring our DNS settings. We could either use rsync or FileZilla because it's a static site and it's like not complicated at all to get it up on the server. Setting up an Apache virtual host on a LAMP stack, Linux, Apache, MySQL, PHP. So dedicating, to me, deployment, especially for front-end developers, you are closing the loop because you build for the browser, my friend. You build for the browser. I want you to close the loop on deployment, get a domain name, configure your DNS settings. Yes, one-click Vercel solutions are very handy, but knowing how to do it yourself is also extremely valuable, and I want you to have that experience. Oh my God, Angela, stop talking and start building. So here's where we're at. This past weekend, we got this far. We have the desktop version of the header finished. This orange color is not the color that I want to go with. It's what is in the mock-up. I would like to choose like a green color. I guess we could do it now. We did do some image sourcing, and by image sourcing, we went to Unsplash and downloaded a bunch of images. Let's see here. Let's go ahead and optimize our images. So let's take a look at what they are. Just, we renamed the project Colorado, and I just searched Colorado on Unsplash, and we just pulled up some pretty landscapes. I would love to choose like a green or something like that. And there, right now we're just using a gray placeholder. So let's go ahead and optimize these images. And I'm going to use Affinity Photo to do that, which is kind of like a Photoshop replacement. And Felipe is here. Good afternoon. Welcome. We're happy to have you. Thanks for joining us, and thanks for subscribing. I appreciate you. Okay, we're going to do new batch job. And I'm sorry I can't make this bigger. Yes, those are Colorado. If you've ever been to the US and had a chance to drive through like the Rocky Mountains or the American Southwest, ooh, beautiful. I've done it twice. And it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. I highly recommend. It is as picturesque as it looks. So we're going to select all of our images minus the placeholder image. And then we are going to save into a new folder. So I'm just going to go optimized. Okay. And then I'm going to save as a JPEG, and it's going to be a maximum width of 1024, a maximum height of 1024. That is just like a good in-between size, in my opinion. The default quality is 85. I'm going to change this to 50. And my goal is to try and get those images down to 200K or less. Ideally, I would like to see them be around 100K. But when I do a batch process like this, I don't get to see what the prospective value is going to be ahead of time. Whereas if I did them one at a time. So, but usually this works out pretty well. So let's just go okay. And then here are our optimized images. What do we have here? 114K, 53K, 63, 57, 70, 95, 93, 115. Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect. These still look perfectly fine for our site. And I really like choosing different aspect ratios of images. I like having portrait and landscape because you can put any aspect ratio into any container size on a website and you have complete control with CSS over how that looks and how that behaves. It does, I have gotten into serious discussions and arguments with colleagues and team members over this point. And I'm here to tell you, especially when you work in a CMS and you have complete control with your CSS over what happens, make this as easy as possible for your content creators, the people who are in charge of writing content and image sourcing for your organization. Understand the CSS around images and how any image orientation can fit into any container on any website. I'll die on that hill. And that is always how you're going to see me styling images on this channel. So there's that. Let's see here. And Malik says, quick update. I finished my LinkedIn learning course for Figma, so I will start to ask about getting assigned design tasks. So Malik is in a web design internship at an organization in Florida, which is where he lives. And he was told to go learn Figma. In the meantime, I will get more familiar with the development side and get the log in for the GitHub and others. And quickly, I meant to do this last time and I forgot. I asked Malik to do something for me because he made this point about, oh, there's another, Savannah Guthrie has another video. Does anybody mind if we watch this? Hang on, I'm gonna pull up Instagram. I want to see this. Let me see. Here's Savannah right here. Hang on, guys. I want to see this.
I'm coming on to say it is day 24 since our mom was taken in the dark of night from her bed. And every hour and minute and second and every long night has been agony since then of worrying about her and fearing for her and aching for her. And most of all, just missing her, We know that millions of you have been praying. So many people have been praying of every faith and no faith at all, praying for her return. And we feel those prayers. Please keep praying without ceasing. We still believe. We still believe.
Wow. I feel like we're getting to the point in this Guthrie case where the media is starting to like pull back a little bit. There's so many other things happening, right? Yeah. So sad. Anyways, I hadn't checked Instagram yet today, so that's my first time seeing that. So thank you for indulging me. Okay, I want to read this message. I'll go back. Thank you for indulging me. I'm going to go back to my original point, which is that I had asked Malik. Well, Malik said something in the chat maybe a week or so ago about how the organization he's working for is both Tailwind and vanilla CSS. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. So I said, hey, ask them if they have like kind of a particular philosophy over Tailwind versus vanilla CSS, right? Like, I was just curious, what's the like, when do you decide what to use where? And he gave me permission to read this response. One of the interns that is sort of the lead said that when he started, he pushed for Tailwind to be used since they used a lot of components. Before, they used mainly just vanilla CSS. He also said, like me, he was a strictly vanilla only developer, but he has grown and learned that Tailwind is easier and more reliable when working with a lot of new developers. Such a good point. Learned that this is you have a control over a lot type of internship, so they change designs and structures as long as they agree and they get approval from the president. So you have a top-down leadership structure, but it sounds really flexible. So and then he also followed up and said, I saw the repository and you can tell a lot of different people have worked on it over the years. There are redundant buttons and crazy code everywhere. I think this will be an educational internship. So this is such a good point. And this is where, and I don't think that I do enough to talk about this part of why frameworks and libraries are so incredibly important. This is actually the perfect reason why. And I think back to my own experience at the University of St. Thomas, where the team that was responsible for the front end part of the website hated front end. They did not, they were fine with JavaScript, but it was like the object oriented part of JavaScript, not the DOM manipulation part of JavaScript, and certainly not CSS or vanilla CSS. And so it was difficult for them. It was a struggle for them. They did their very, very best with what they had. And then they had, front end people dedicated to front end development like myself and another developer come in and start working on those files. And it was a little messy, and they would be the first people to admit that it was a little messy and that they were glad that we were there so they didn't have to work on it, right? So I completely acknowledge that this is why frameworks and libraries are so incredibly important, because they normalize, they streamline, they don't put people in a position who don't like writing CSS and aren't comfortable with the process to put them in a position to muddle through or write CSS that isn't efficient. Am I right? So that's why frameworks and libraries are so incredibly important. My only point is that you should also know vanilla. So it's like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript are the three things that the browser renders natively. You should still know them. So, oh, and Rahul, also a mod in the chat, says, what question mark? I don't know what you're responding to. Are you responding to Savannah Guthrie? Or are you responding to the fact that I hope you're not responding to the fact that I said I think frameworks and libraries are important, because I've never said that they weren't important, but I'm not sure what you're responding to, so let me know. Okay, I promise you we're going to actually write some code today. So here's where we left off. We basically have a desktop version of our navigation. We have to put in a hover, and probably I'll do a nice little transition for this button for the submenus. So if we're tabbing through, you can see here that the links are getting focus, the search button is getting focus, the nav items and the submenu buttons are also getting focus. And our buttons are 48 by 48 pixels, which is the accessible tap target. I think what I'm going to do is, so when you hover over any part of this, so whether you're hovering over the link or you're hovering over the button, that will expose the submenu. So we're still very much in desktop mode here. We should also work on our search drawer. So the search drawer right now is hidden. It's display none. And we want to make sure that that has a transition and slides out when you click this button. So we need to do that as well. So let's just let's work on our subnav, right? Let's just pick up right where we left off. This is basically where we left off on Sunday, which, by the way, Sunday was so fun because it's not my first time doing subnavs on this channel. I think literally the first project I did had submenus. And I really struggled through it because I did not have a system down for the accessibility. And I am much clearer. I am much more focused on accessibility, but it's still not something that I have perfected. I have made many, many, many submenus, but not with an accessible mindset. So that's where we're at today. But I think we're solid. I think we're solid. Let's collapse this. So here's our navigation. We have back-to-back submenus. Here's our navigation. The submenus. Let's just make a little submenu. So we do want it to be display none by default because there is a sibling element that immediately precedes the submenu. And we want a screen reader and keyboard focus to land on this button. It is the user's choice to decide whether or not they see that submenu. But for desktop, it's perfectly fine, and I think a normal experience that if you hover anywhere inside the LI, you expose the submenu. So I think that all we have to do is, well, first of all, let's style it. So let's make it not be display none and just get it styled first, right? And then we'll worry about the hiding and the showing. Oh, and Christian Coates is here. Welcome, Christian Coates. We're happy to have you. So the LI should be position relative. Position relative. And then the submenu, okay, I'm actually gonna go back to do this. This is going to be position absolute. In my opinion, this is the best way to do this. I'm going to say top 100%, which just pushes it down to the very bottom. Top 100%, left 0. Yeah, just like that. We'll give this a background color of white. So far, so good. Oh, and these are also unordered lists. So we're going to say padding 0, margin 0, list style type none. And I think we want the width to be 100. Well, we want the width to be 100%, but really I want the width to be maybe not 100%. Is with auto gonna work? I think with auto is what I want because I just want the menu to be as big as the text, but maybe 100% is better. I think 100% is better. Yeah, we'll go with 100%. And then let's give this a box shadow so it just has a little lift off the image. RGBA. And we'll say 0, 0, 0. 10% elf transparency. Forgot the 1 pixel on the x-axis, 1 pixel on the y-axis, 1 pixel blur, 1 pixel spread. Oh, and Rahul says, it's already 23 minutes in. I got left out. Today notification didn't show up. Luckily, I opened YouTube and it was suggested on number 1. If not, I would be an hour late. Oh, I'm so sorry about that. I didn't tell the mods. Sometimes, okay, real talk for 1 second here. Sometimes I feel weird telling the mods, oh, I'm doing XYZ, because I worry that the mods who are 100% voluntary feel obligated to be here. This is me being a weirdo. So I did a community post and I scheduled it last night because I just have a scheduling thing today for this afternoon. So I definitely did not intentionally leave you out. I didn't tell anybody. So mods, you tell me, do you want me to tell you every time I make a scheduling change? Because I definitely worry that I'm making demands on your time. And this is like a voluntary thing, and you guys are so generous to come and help me out. So you let me know what you want me to do and I will do it. But that's the reason I didn't really say anything. Also, it kind of happened at the last minute yesterday evening that I had this appointment get switched around. So there's that. So that's how that played out. But I'm glad that you're here. Thank you for showing up. And also this looks just fine. So I think, is there a, let's see here. Do these have, I think these have a border. So let's take the border off of the LI for the submenus. Yeah, I knew you would probably like that it was early. I should have just told you. So in hindsight, I should have just told you. So it's great that you are early. I can join the fun and sleep on time. Yes, Rahul is like 12 hours ahead. He's in Nepal. And Jan says, understandable. Thank you, Jan. I appreciate that. Jan Mick Creatives. I love that name. And Goamogo says, streams match up with my meeting time, so I have no problem with whatever you choose to do. You know what? I'll just tell you guys next time. I have to get over myself. So that's just me being insecure. So we'll do a submenu LI, and we'll just say, I'm going to say border none. And that still gives us a little gap, but we don't need that border. Actually, I do want borders on, but I want borders on the bottom. So I'm going to say border bottom. 1 pixel, solid, gray. Just like that. And Raul says, what are you saying? I love being here. Thank you. I appreciate that. And you're right. I'm being a goofball. So next time I will just tell you guys. I will just tell you guys. I love nitpicking. You're never nitpicking. Rahul and I have chatted a little bit offline about helping and suggesting. And he said, is it okay if I give you suggestions? Do you want me to do that? And I was like, yes, definitely. But fair warning, I may not always accept help, right? So sometimes I want the help, sometimes I don't want the help. And it's anybody's guess what I'm on any given day, if I will be accepting or declining. So everybody is welcome to help. The chat is always welcome to help. I just may not accept the help. That's all. So as long as you're cool with that, you can absolutely nitpick. And I'm going to say actually border top. So we get the border up here instead. And then we're not going to get the border on the bottom, which we really don't need. So we'll just say border top. There. That's perfect. That's exactly what I want. So now we basically have these styled. Do we, and these are centered. These are also centered. And I think that's just fine. I'm not going to be able to get these to line up with these because these are not, the spacing here doesn't have anything to do with like padding, right? So I'm never going to be able to get those to line up. So I'm just going to let everything continue to be centered. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, so now let's go back to display none. And this is just the first part of getting these to show up. So what do we want? We want that when we hover, focus, active, Okay. Do we want it to be on the LI, or do we want it to be on the button, or do we want it to be on both? Okay. Maybe the hover, maybe it's hover only on the LI and it's focus active on the anchor and the button, because the LI isn't active. The anchor and the button are active. So let's just do a hover on the LI, and then let's do a focus and an active on the anchor and the button. Oh, this is so sweet. Thank you. I appreciate this. I just watched your previous stream. Not gonna lie, I actually learned a lot, but I'm still deciding if I was there for the knowledge or just your vibe. Thank you so much. I love this because I just really appreciate that. So that is very kind. I love that. Anybody who tells me I have a good vibe, how would I not love that as a compliment? So I'll do, if you're here for the knowledge or the vibes, or if, what the hell, even if you're hate watching, thank you. All engagement's good engagement, right? So, okay. So yeah, we're going to do just a hover. We're going to do just a hover for the LI to start with. Yeah. So I'm going to put that down here, and I'm going to say main nav, LI hover, and we want to trigger the, although I don't think we need this because there's only one, we're going to trigger the sub menu. So we're going to go from display none to display block. Well, there it is, folks. And since it's inside the LI, we don't have to do any fancy trickery to keep this open when you're up here. It's a child element. If it was a sibling element, I think we would have to do like a focus within or something like that, but we don't have to do that because it's a child element. Okay, so that's just the first part, because now we need to make sure, because the LI doesn't get focus, right? So we can't focus or active something that doesn't actually get focus. LI isn't also ever active. A link is active. A button is active. So now we're going to make sure, let's start with the anchor element. So if that anchor element, I'm going to do these, well, we can probably just do this, right? Main nav, anchor element, focus, submenu. Whoops. Main nav, anchor element, active, submenu. And then we would want to do main nav, button, main nav, button, focus, submenu. Main nav, button, active, submenu. So if any of these things are happening, that submenu is display block. So let's check it out. I really felt like that was going to work. So if it's because the anchor element and the submenu are siblings. That's why. Not children. Okay, so it worked for the button. But the button and the submenu are direct siblings, but the anchor is not a direct sibling. So I think we have to do this. Right? Yeah. Let's see here. Look at that. Okay, so now, hang on. Where is it? That's interesting. Where is it going? So there, I'm tapping tab, tab, tab. Where is it? Tab, tab, tab. Is it... Hang on, I'm going to take this out because is it going into the submenu? Is that what's happening? I just want to see what's going on here. Well, it's open, so that's why it's doing that. Where is that focus? Where is that focus going for that one tab? I'm not really sure. Tab, 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 tab. When you go backwards, what if I hover here? Yeah, see, it's display block when I hover, so that's weird. What happens if we, that's weird. I don't know where it's going. I think we need LI focus within for tab to work on submenus. Oh, actually, that's a good point. Hang on. Yeah, I'm kind of missing that, aren't I? Okay, I missed the whole point here because once this is open, it needs to actually go all the way through. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm gonna put it right here. Submenu, LI, focus within. Yeah. Hang on, I've done this before, so I'm going to go look in my GitHub. I've done this before. Where did I do this? Where did I do this? I don't remember. this, I think. This is old. Oh, dang it. Focus within. So I did the LI, and then I did focus within to trigger the anchor. Focus within. The submenu, yeah. Hang on. Main nav. No, hang on. No, it is the submenu. What's within? Okay, so this is something different. This is just the hover effect for the anchor element. This right here. It's the submenu, focus within. And then I had another layer here. So I think it's focus within just on the submenu. I think it's this. No. LI focus with submenu. I think you left out submenu. Main nav, LI focus within, submenu display block. Okay, this makes sense. Main nav, LI focus within, trigger the submenu. Yeah, that makes sense. I think we were doing it the opposite way. There we go. And you said, and if the solution works, can you also try removing the other ones and try it again? Oh. Do you mean these? Yeah, look at that. Yep, you were right. Teamwork makes the dream work. Look at that. This is a really good solution. This is a really good solution. The hover has to come first. It's pretty clean, right? So we've got our hover, we've got our focus within. I like to have an active state though. So technically we have an active state already for the link itself. Well, we might end up adding like an active state. This is the most important part, that we can hover over the LI and trigger our submenu, right? We'll probably, I still haven't chosen my accent color, right? So yeah, let's do one other thing here. The other thing that I want to do is, although we could probably just do focus within for this as well, right? I kind of wanted to transition this button. We'll just like do a little loop-de-loop. So, so let's do this. So our submenu button SVG is, we're going to transition rotate. So for now, I'm just going to say 0, like give it a baseline 0. I'm going to move this right here and put it directly under there. And then, well, no, maybe we do want it under here. We can put them all together. No, I'm going to leave it there. Then we'll do submenu. Well, we probably want the transition to happen immediately, right? So I will move this back down here. Decisions, decisions. So when all of this is hover or getting focus, we probably want to say main nav li submenu button SVG transition rotate 0, and then we'll put this in here. See, this is where SAS would come in really handy right about now. So you could do some nesting, right? But this is the whole point of understanding vanilla. Focus within, submenu, button SVG. Yeah, I do feel like this needs to be separate. Transition, rotate, what, 180 degrees? 180 degrees? 0 degrees? Is that right? Oh, we still have to make sure that there's a hover. So on the main nav, when you hover on the LI, I bet I have this, I feel like I have this probably wrong. Don't tell me. Main nav, LI. So we've got the main nav, LI. The submenu is a child. Yes, you're right. The button selector is wrong. So it's the, we don't need submenu. Yeah, we don't need submenu. Whoops. We just need button SVG. Whoops, we don't need this either. So it's the main nav, LI, button SVG. LI, button SVG. When you hover on the LI, I think I'm just going to take the button out of this equation. Yeah, I think it's, I don't need degrees. That's the problem. Okay, transition, rotate. Let's do this. MDN, transition, rotate. Transform, that's why. It's transform, not transition. We're so close. Now I think we need degrees. Yes. Look at that. Now it works. So now we transition the transform. (300 milliseconds). Ease in, out. It's beautiful. Look at that. So, I love it. I feel like that could be a little bit quicker. 300 milliseconds seems a little sluggish. There we go. A little quicker. Oh my gosh. Okay, so here's what I'm wondering though. Here is what's occurring to me. So for a desktop experience, this is what I want. But if you're tabbing through, yeah, this is actually not what we want, because if you're tabbing through, this is not the right behavior. I think I was right before. The correct behavior is that if you are tabbing through, you have to interact with the button in order to get the menu to open up. See, if we do it this way, here's the problem. Now you are forcing the user to go through the submenu, and they didn't explicitly choose that. So focus within is not the correct way to do this. So this is fine right here. We have our little transform for the SVG. That's fine. This is not correct though. We need to go back to how we had it. The correct behavior is that when somebody focuses on that button, they hit the enter key and they interact with the button, and then they open, then the menu opens. So I needed a second to think about that. So this is not what I want. And we need a little bit of JavaScript. We need a click event that adds a class and opens this. Just like you need a click event to click on the open button for the menu, just like you need a click event to click on the search button to open the search drawer. It's not okay to put a button here and then not give the user the option of not opening the submenu. Does that make sense? So this is good. I'm glad this is why we do this, because we have to think through and talk through these processes. So I'm taking out focus within. It's totally appropriate to transform this SVG, but that's not the behavior I want for the submenus, or it's not accessible. There's no point. So we're going to do, what did we have before? We had main nav, anchor element. Well, we don't have to do anything when the only thing we need to do for the anchor element is to transition a style. And we already have our links styled. So I don't even care about that. All we're going to do is change the color, right? So when you come through and you focus, you could focus on the anchor, you hit enter and you go to that page. You don't see the submenu until you interact with the button, and you have the choice to go past the button and not interact with it. So really, I'm not going to do anything for the anchor elements. I'm just going to say button focus. No, I don't even want to do that. There has to be a click event on the button. The click event adds the class. Yeah, I'm not even going to do that. This is all we need. And we don't even need that. So we do not need to transition this. So we don't need focus within for this either. All we want is to hover on the LI. So here we go. This is the hover desktop experience, exactly what we want. If a keyboard user comes in, this should not transition until you actually interact with the button and open the menu. So what is that? That means that we would want to put an active class on the button or an active class on the submenu. So when we click the button, we could do it on both. We could just do it on one. Let's just do it on here because I don't actually have any classes on the button. So let's just add an active class to the submenu just like that, because it's easy to style a button based on whether or not, right? You can use the has property. So let's say that this is active. That means then submenu active, or I guess we could just put it down here, right? Might as well keep them all together. So if the submenu is active, and that's going to come from our click event when we write JavaScript, okay. And then what else happens if our submenu is active? Our button rotates, our SVG rotates. So then we would do main nav if our submenu is active, then it would be main nav let me think about this for a second. Give me a moment. So the button is a sibling of the unordered list. So the main nav, so if the button, I don't know if that's going to work because the SVG is a child of the button. So it would be main nav li button has submenu active, but it's a sibling. Then transform the SVG. I have no idea if that's going to work. So if the main nav list item button has a sibling submenu active, then transform the SVG. This is a good question. Are you thinking of enter key press to get the active class and escape to remove the active? Yeah, because that's the accessible behavior for a button, right? Because this is a button. And when you give the user, the keyboard user or the screen reader user a button, they have the choice to interact with the button and open the menu. We can't force them we can't just open that and then have them tab through every single submenu item. We read out what the submenu is and we give them the choice, right? That's why we have a button here with an ARIA label. So we have a button here with an ARIA label, open the portfolio submenu. Well, what if they don't want to open the portfolio submenu? We can't just open it and force them to click through all these things. They didn't interact with the button. They have the choice to go past it, right? That's how it is for everything else. So on the mobile menu, the open menu button is a button. They have the choice to go past it, to not open it, right? Same with the search. They have the choice to not open it. The previous focus within solution might not have worked with the accessibility, but the code itself was not wrong for anyone watching later. Yeah, I mean, the code itself was not wrong, but it wasn't, you're right, it wasn't accessible. I mean, the code did exactly what we told it to do. That's absolutely correct. It just isn't the accessible solution that it should be. So, that's why you have to like talk out loud and like talk through and understand what what the behavior is supposed to be, right? Yeah, and so this is working because it transformed. So right here, that's working. So let's we can do this right here in the browser. So here's our button. Here's our unordered list. I'm just going to come right over here and I'm going to delete the active. And then we'll add the active. We showed the menu. Control, Alt, Control Shift, Command, what is it? Command Z, Command Shift Z. So that's it. That's exactly what I want. Just like that. So people have to interact with that button in order to see the menu. Otherwise, they go past the menu. So let's take out active. Hopefully this makes sense to you guys why I'm doing this. Why this is important. It's taken me years to figure some of this stuff out. Perfect. This is exactly what I want. So now, if you land on the anchor element, you can just hit return and go to that link. Now you land on the button. With a click event, which we haven't done yet, you would hit return and you would open the submenu and then you would tab through the submenu. That's perfect. That's exactly what I want. But for our traditional desktop experience, we make the entire list item show that menu. I love it. Let's make sure, here's our other submenu. Let's just confirm that if we add the word active, beautiful. Beautiful. That's exactly what we want. That's exactly what I want. So let's do the same thing for our search drawer because we have a search drawer as well. So the way that we're really going to tie this all together then is when we write a little bit of JavaScript, which we'll kind of do, maybe we'll probably, what time is it? We've been an hour and 15 minutes in. I'm going to keep going for another 15 minutes or so here. We'll work on this search drawer. And then on Thursday, hopefully we can nail down the responsive styles and write the JavaScript to make sure we have those click events. So let's look at our markup for the search drawer. So here's our wrap. Here's our social search container. Here's the navigation, the social links. Here's our button. And then here is our search drawer, which is currently display none, which is exactly what we want because we want keyboard users to land on this button. We have an ARIA label that says open search. They decide if they want to open the search or if they want to continue tabbing and seeing what else is there. And then we have this div with the class of search drawer. So let's go ahead and style that. Oh baby, we're doing all the pages. We're doing all of the pages. So we're doing for sure these 4 pages, but I think we're going to end up with 5 or 6 pages. Yeah. So we're in it. We're in it. Because we're getting these projects done so incredibly quickly. I want to start doing more multi-page layouts, more full sites. One moment, hold please. I missed a comment from Goose Tracksuit, which is an excellent name, by the way. You can active. Yeah, we probably do need to do an active. This comment is a little bit old. I'm sorry, I missed it. I don't know if you're talking about this active for the submenus. I think you might be. Yeah. I do feel like I'm kind of missing, but we have focus states. We do have a focus state because the browser by default has a focus, right? So focus, 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 focus. That's largely to do with the fact that the anchor elements have a focus state. And then this will transition on click once the submenu gets the active state. So I don't feel like I need to do any special focus for that button. This is doing what I expected to do. So even though it feels, yeah. Well, the anchor element already has a focus state, just because we styled the anchor elements to have focus, right? So excuse me, active. So the anchor elements do have an active state already. So I think the question is, does that button also need an active state? I may need to think about it. Yeah. And we may have to consult our friend, ChatGPT, our sassy friend. And see what they say, right? For now, let's keep going. I want to keep going. And I want to think about it because I'm not sure. But I agree. The anchor elements, see, the button here doesn't specifically even have a focus hover active, right? But the SVG is transforming based on, so the button is getting a transform. It's not specifically a pseudo class though, right? And everything is getting focus. Everything is getting a focus state. But maybe there needs to be something else going on here besides just this little twirly twirl. Oh, there's so many things to think about. I'm going to keep going and we will revisit because we're definitely not done with the navigation. There's still a lot more to do. So let's work on the search drawer. Let's just make sure that we are showing that search drawer. And again, that's going to be a click event. And what I like to do with things like this is, so when you click on this button right here, I'm actually going to add a class to the body, search active. So let's just do that now, and we'll style that. Search active. So if our search is active, search active, search drawer, display block, and this is going to be position. This is going to be position fixed. And position fixed is always, you don't need a position relative, it's always fixed against the document itself. And I'm going to say inset 0. I'm also going to say width 100%, height 100%, just because I want to. We'll give this a little bit of Z index. I'm just going to say 1 to make sure it's on top. And we'll give it a background color of white. There we go. So here is our search drawer. And then I don't think you can really, yeah, you can't really access anything behind the drawer, right? I do think that I'm going to make sure that if the search is active, which is basically a body class, I think I'm just going to say overflow hidden so we don't have any scrolling. But I think I could also probably just make this height 100 VH. There we go. And then there's no scrolling. And then we want to get our form into the middle. So here, I'm actually going to say display flex. I think it needs a flex direction. I have to remember how to do this. Nope, not flex direction, flex wrap. Wrap. Gosh, we've done this a few times and I can't remember. We just did it on the last site. So what was that? Our scenic site? This. So we did display flex, flex wrap, wrap, align content center. And then that put it in the center on the Y axis. And then we just had to give it some width. Align content, whoops. Center. And then we'll give this some width. And I'm actually do we want to apply these styles when the search is active or just apply them? And then we have our search form. You know what? I'm going to put this up by the body. I think that belongs up here. Where's the body class? Right here. And then with the search form right here. Search form. We'll make this what? Max width 768. Margin 0. Auto. So here's our drawer. There's the button. Nope. There's the button. Here's the form. Let's do this. Width 768. Max width 100%. There we go. There's our form. And then here's our button. So the search drawer, I think, should be so the search drawer is already position fixed. So I'm going to position the button absolutely to the drawer. So search close right here. Position absolute, top 0, right 0. That should put it up in the corner. There we go. So there's our drawer. There's our button. This is not styled yet. Here's our form. And then here's the search active. So if we take that off, put it back on, and then we can also transition that, right? So maybe instead of display none, this is display flex, and this is visibility hidden, which still hides it from a screen reader. And maybe this is, we could also transition the opacity, although you can transition visibility. You can put timing on visibility. So if it's visibility hidden, then it can be display flex, and then this would be visibility visible, and then we add a transition. Visibility 300 milliseconds, ease in out. So now, because you can't transition a display, you can't go from display none to display block or display flex, but you can transition visibility. Do we feel like that actually transitioned? It might be more noticeable if we added opacity. Opacity 0. Opacity 100%. Opacity also 300 milliseconds. Ease in out. Look at that. And so here's the real test. Let's take this class off the body now. The real test is, can you tab through all of this and the button skips the drawer? The button has to skip the drawer because we haven't interacted with the button yet. Yes. But if the drawer is open, see, we have some more. Well, if the drawer is open, then presumably you're coming into the drawer, right? And you would land on the close button first, then you'd hit the input, then you'd hit the search button, then you go out. So now you're tabbing through your document. I don't really like to trap the focus. I've done that before. You can do that with JavaScript. And we'll make sure that you can hit the escape key to remove the search active and close the drawer. But if you're covering the entire document and you tab out of the search drawer, it's not like navigation where you're only covering up a little part, right? So yeah, I need to think about that too. When's the last time we did a search drawer and thought that through? I feel like it was within the last few months, but I don't remember. I feel like it was last fall. How did we do that? So we just have some things to think about, right? And Rahul says, how hard is it to do a submenu? It's complex. These things are complex. It's all accessibility's fault. I mean that in the nicest way possible, because I've been doing these things for a long time. I've been a front-end developer for almost 13 years, but I've only been really accessibility minded for the last 6 or 7 years. And it's a process, because everything I did for such a long time is like deeply ingrained in me. There are lots of things that I do that I probably don't need to do that I do anyways. And that's just, and it has so much to do with just old habits. And you really have to talk through what the expected behavior is for something, what we are asking users to do. And it's complex, needs to be sorted out. So, and Malik says, not just a submenu, a submenu. Let's add that to the next project. Yeah, we could do that. I don't think that's as common as it used to be. I kind of think that the attitude around submenus and submenus, well, not submenus, because people are still very much building submenus. I think that there is a shifting attitude around submenus, that if you have submenus, perhaps you didn't think through your information architecture as well as you should have. But I don't disagree that it's still important to support some of those things. So there's that. Okay, well, that's about it for me today, because I have a thing that I have to go to this afternoon. My apologies to the mods for not letting them know ahead of time that I changed times. I will make sure that I reach out to you guys next time. So why stop at 2 subs? Let it run up to 4 subs, just for difficulty's sake. Because I know you're kidding. I know you're pulling my leg. I know you're joking. But when you start to come up with menus that are that deep, you have an information architecture issue. You need to rethink your content. So, but I know that's not what you mean. I know you're just kidding. So anyways, everybody, thank you. Do me a favor, hit the like button if you haven't already. It helps the algorithm. It helps push this out to more people who might be interested in this type of content. Helps me grow the channel. We just hit 2,000 subscribers, which I'm pretty excited about. I realize that that's small potatoes in YouTube world, but it's something that I am extremely proud of, and I can't do that without you. Subscribe, do all the YouTube things. I really appreciate it. If you are on Instagram, not really a TikTok girly, but if you're on Instagram, you can find me over there, hanging out, doom scrolling reels, feel free to send me a DM if you have questions about anything I'm doing on the channel or things like that. And Malik says, good work as usual. Thank you. I appreciate that. Rahul, appreciate you as well. Rahul is a very experienced full stack developer, 10 years in the biz. And both Malik and Rahul, Malik is brand new in his very first internship, just finished school. So we have just this really fun, great mix of experience levels here, which I so appreciate. I think my channel is definitely, I mean, my idea for what this channel would be was that it would be for new developers, but what I'm finding is that there are developers of all backgrounds, all experience levels, who just want to be better at front end and who have an interest in vanilla. That's really all this is. It's a way to just promote vanilla, the three things that the browser renders naturally. So I am just a budding little flower, getting all the nutrients I can. They grow up so fast. Everybody, have a great rest of your day wherever you are. I will be back on Thursday this week at 10:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. I'm here 4 days a week, Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday. Have a great rest of your week wherever you are. I will see you in my next one. Mwah. Bye-bye.